Scenarist Yulia Yakovenko. Kilkist Symvoliv, 38771. Nazwa. My wife said, I'm heading to the country house with my ex, don't wait up. But I replied, Preview. My wife said, I'm heading to the country house with my ex, don't wait up. I replied, no problem, enjoy. Then, a friend and I staged a break-in at the house to frighten them. 24 hours later, she returned, terrified, and I couldn't hide my satisfaction. Story. Friday morning hit me like a freight train made of coffee and regret. I'm Nick Barrett, 42 years old, claims adjuster for Midwest Mutual Insurance, and apparently the last person on earth to know my wife was screwing around. I'm spending the weekend at the country house with Adam, Julia announced over her organic quinoa breakfast, not even looking up from her phone. Don't be too bored without me. Julia Barrett, 40 years old, real estate's golden girl, could sell ice to Eskimos and apparently herself to my former best friend. She had that practiced casual tone down pat. The same voice she used when telling clients their dream home had foundation issues. I'll try to survive Netflix and leftover pizza, I replied, stirring my instant coffee. The good stuff was reserved for Julia's morning ritual. Adam Green, 37, tech consultant, drove a Range Rover that cost more than my annual salary and had been coming around our house way too often lately for business consultations with Julia. Funny how real estate suddenly needed so much technical expertise. My phone buzzed. Dave Kowalski, my actual best friend, texting from his security company office. Beer tonight? Heard Julia's abandoning you again. Dave knew. Of course Dave knew. Ex-military, runs Kowalski Security Solutions, notices everything. Guy could spot a cheating spouse from 3 blocks away. I was typing back when Julia's phone lit up on the counter. She was upstairs getting ready, and the message preview made my blood freeze. Can't wait for our private getaway, Jay. This time we'll have the whole weekend. Clay. My hands shook as I set down my coffee mug. Julia's phone was always unlocked around me. Why would she need privacy from her devoted husband? I'd been so stupid, so trusting. The sound of her heels clicking down the stairs made me shove the phone back exactly where it was. Julia appeared, looking like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Designer jeans, silk blouse, that smile that used to make my heart skip beats. Now it just made me nauseous. You sure you'll be okay? She asked, grabbing her keys. The concern in her voice was about as genuine as a $3 bill. I'm a big boy, Jules. I think I can handle a weekend alone. Clay, she kissed my cheek, a quick, perfunctory peck that felt like a business transaction. Love you too, I lied. After her BMW disappeared down Maple Street, I called Dave. She's gone, I said when he answered. Finally ready to face the music? What music? Dave sighed. Nick, buddy, everyone knows. Julia and Adam have been carrying on for months. They're not exactly subtle. Everyone knows. The words hit me like a slap. Everyone? Her real estate friends gossip at Murphy's bar every Thursday. Sloane Peterson can't keep her mouth shut after 2 Cosmos. Something about Julia's yoga instructor and how her marriage has been dead for years. Sloane Peterson, Julia's best friend since college, drinks like a fish, loves drama more than oxygen. If Sloane knew, the whole town knew. There's more, Dave continued. I didn't want to tell you, but there's a group chat. Julia, Adam, Sloane, that Tara woman, they've been talking about you. What kind of talking? The kind that would make you want to burn down half the county. I found Julia's iPad on the coffee table. She'd left it behind, probably figured she wouldn't need it for her romantic weekend. It was synced to her phone, and finding the group chat took about 30 seconds. The messages made me want to throw up. Sloane. How does Nick not know? He's so clueless. Hey, Adam. Guy's a walking doormat. Makes this so much easier. Julia. He actually asked if I needed help carrying my overnight bag. Like he's being helpful. Hey. Tara. When are you going to leave him? Julia. After I figure out the house situation. Need to protect my assets first. Hey. Adam. My lawyer says you could get half of everything plus alimony. Nick won't fight it. He doesn't have the spine. Sloane. Poor Nick. Actually, scratch that. Stupid Nick. Hey. Biel Pan. I read through weeks of messages. Months, actually. They'd been planning this whole thing, laughing at me, treating me like some kind of joke. Adam talking about how I was too pathetic to be a real threat. Julia describing our marriage as playing house with a man-child. The worst part, they were probably right. I had been pathetic. Trusting, loyal, devoted, all the things that apparently made me a perfect target. But not anymore. I called Dave back. Remember that camping trip you mentioned? I've got a better idea. I'm listening. How do you feel about a little home invasion theater? Dave was quiet for a moment. Then he started laughing. Now you're talking my language. What did you have in mind? Julia and Adam want to play games? Let's give them a weekend they'll never forget. The country house was actually a high-end lakeside rental about 90 minutes outside town. I'd found the booking confirmation in Julia's email. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. 3 days, 2 nights, $400 a night, on our credit card, naturally. Dave and I spent Saturday morning doing reconnaissance. His security company had all the toys, binoculars, listening devices, cameras with telephoto lenses. We set up on a hill overlooking the property, watching Julia and Adam play house like a couple of teenagers. Look at this guy, Dave muttered, adjusting the binoculars. Prancing around in his designer swim trunks like he's some kind of male model. Through the scope, I watched Adam emerge from the lake house, wearing nothing but board shorts that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Julia followed in a bikini I'd never seen before. Definitely a new purchase for the occasion. She bought that swimsuit specifically for him, I said, feeling my jaw clench. Spent our money to look good for her boyfriend. Easy, Nick. Save the anger for tonight. Dave had brought backup. Tommy Reeves, one of his security guys, ex-Navy SEAL, built like a refrigerator, could probably bench press my Honda Civic. The plan was simple: scare them, humiliate them, make them think twice about their little affair. We watched them all day. Julia and Adam grilling steaks on the deck, drinking wine, acting like they didn't have a care in the world. Around sunset, they moved inside. The house had floor-to-ceiling windows, and they hadn't bothered closing the curtains. Jesus, Dave said, lowering his binoculars. They're really going at it. I don't need a play-by-play. No, I mean they're arguing about something. Look, I raised my own binoculars. Julia was gesturing wildly, clearly upset about something. Adam was trying to calm her down, but she was having none of it. Even from this distance, I could see the tension. Trouble in paradise? Tommy asked. Maybe she's getting cold feet, Dave suggested, realizing what she's throwing away. But I knew better. Julia wasn't having second thoughts about the affair. She was probably just stressed about the logistics. How to divorce me, how to split the assets, how to manage the social fallout. Always the planner, my wife. We waited until midnight. The house went dark around 11:30, giving us time to get into position. Dave had studied the property layout. Security system was basic, more for show than actual protection. Rich people problems. Tommy disabled the alarm while Dave and I approached from the lakeside. We were dressed in black, wearing ski masks, looking like something out of a bad action movie. The sliding door from the deck was unlocked, because who expects trouble in paradise? The house was gorgeous inside. Hardwood floors, exposed beams, furniture that cost more than my annual salary. Julia and Adam had made themselves at home, their clothes scattered around the living room like teenagers after prom. We found them in the master bedroom, sound asleep in post-coital bliss. Julia was curled up against Adam's chest, looking peaceful and content, in a way I hadn't seen in years. It made me want to wake them up with a baseball bat. Instead, Dave flicked on the lights. Rise and shine, lovebirds. Julia's scream could have shattered glass. Adam bolted upright, immediately trying to shield Julia with his body, which might have been noble if he wasn't stark naked and clearly terrified. Don't move, Tommy commanded in his military voice, hands where we can see them. What do you want? Adam's voice cracked like a teenager's. Money? Credit cards? Just take whatever you want. We want you to listen, I said, disguising my voice with a fake accent. Both of you. Julia was hyperventilating, clutching the sheet to her chest. Her perfect hair was a mess, her makeup smeared. This wasn't the composed real estate queen I'd married. This was a scared, vulnerable woman who'd been caught red-handed. Please, she whispered. We won't call the police. We'll do whatever you want. Dave zip-tied their hands to the headboard. Not tight enough to hurt, but secure enough to keep them from doing anything stupid. Tommy set up a small camera on the dresser, the red recording light blinking ominously. Smile for the camera, I said. You like making movies, don't you, Adam? I bet you've got quite a collection. Adam's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Rich tech guy like you? Probably got cameras all over your house, recording everything, including visits from married women. Julia made a choking sound. I could see her mind racing, probably thinking about all the times she'd been to Adam's place, all the evidence that might exist. Here's what's going to happen, Dave announced. You're going to sit here and think about your life choices. Think about the people you're hurting. Think about whether this little affair is worth destroying everything. We're not hurting anyone, Adam protested. Tommy laughed, a cold military sound. Tell that to Adam's wife. What's her name? Melissa? Pretty woman. Probably has no idea her husband's been playing house with the real estate lady. Julia started crying, ugly, desperate sobs that shook her whole body. This was the woman who'd been laughing about me in group chats, calling me pathetic and spineless. Now she was falling apart because someone had turned the tables. Please don't hurt us, she begged. We'll stop. We'll end it right now. Just please don't hurt us. Nobody's getting hurt, I said. But this ends tonight. You go back to your real lives, your real spouses, and you forget this ever happened. Because if we hear about you two together again, I let the threat hang in the air. Dave pulled out a burner phone and took several photos. Julia and Adam tied up, terrified, caught in the act. Insurance, in case they got brave later. Don't come back here, Tommy said as we prepared to leave. Don't contact each other. Don't even look at each other if you pass on the street. We'll be watching. We left them tied to the bed. The zip ties were loose enough that they'd work free eventually. By the time they got untangled and called for help, we'd be long gone. The drive home was quiet. Dave and Tommy were pleased with the operation, but I felt hollow. Seeing Julia like that, scared, vulnerable, human, had reminded me why I'd fallen in love with her in the first place. For a moment, I'd almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Julia came home Sunday evening, looking like she'd aged 10 years. Her hands were shaking as she unlocked the front door, and she jumped when I called out from the living room. Hey, honey, how was your weekend? She appeared in the doorway, still clutching her overnight bag. Her face was pale, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. The confident woman who'd left Friday morning was gone, replaced by someone who looked genuinely traumatized. It was fine, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Just fine? You were looking forward to it all week. Julia flinched like I'd slapped her. I'm tired, Nick. I think I'll take a bath and go to bed early. Sure thing. Did you remember to set the alarm when you left? I noticed it was off when I got home from Dave's yesterday. Another flinch. The alarm hadn't been off. I was just planting seeds of doubt, making her wonder how much I might know. I think so. Maybe I forgot. No big deal. Just wondering. I watched her climb the stairs, noting how she kept looking over her shoulder, how she checked the locks twice before heading up. The weekend had definitely had an impact. Monday morning brought the first real payoff. I was grabbing coffee at Murphy's Diner when I overheard Sloan Peterson talking to Tara Williams at the corner booth. Julia was a complete mess at the office this morning, Sloan was saying. Jumped every time the phone rang, couldn't concentrate on anything. And did you see those bruises on her wrists? The bruises were from the zip ties, minor marks that would fade in a day or two, but visible enough to raise questions. Maybe she and Adam got a little too rough, Tara suggested with a giggle. I don't think so. She looked genuinely scared, like something bad happened. I smiled into my coffee cup. Phase 1 was working perfectly. That afternoon, I put Phase 2 into motion. The video from Saturday night was carefully edited, faces blurred, voices distorted. But the situation was clear enough. A married couple caught in bed together, tied up and terrified by unknown intruders. I created an anonymous email account and sent the clip to Melissa Green with a simple message. Thought you should know what your husband does on his business trips. The explosion came Wednesday morning. I was at my desk at Midwest Mutual when Dave called. You need to hear this, he said. I'm parked outside Adam's office building. Melissa just showed up with a suitcase and threw it at him in the parking lot. She's screaming about cheating and lies and how she's filing for divorce. Any mention of the video? Oh yeah, she's waving her phone around, showing it to anyone who will watch. Adam looks like he's going to pass out. I hung up and immediately called Julia's office. Her assistant, Karen, answered on the first ring. Midwest Mutual. This is Nick Barrett. Is my wife available? Oh, hi Nick. She's in a meeting with a client, but she's been acting strange all week. Is everything okay at home? Everything's fine. Just wanted to check on her. But everything wasn't fine. and it was about to get worse. Thursday evening, Adam showed up at our house. I was expecting him. Desperate people do desperate things, and Adam was definitely desperate. His Range Rover looked like it had been through a war zone. Melissa had apparently taken a baseball bat to it before throwing him out. I answered the door with my best concerned neighbor expression. Adam, what brings you by? You look terrible. I need to talk to Julia. She's not here. Real estate showing. Won't be back for hours. Adam pushed past me into the house. A mistake on his part. This is all falling apart, Nick. Someone's trying to destroy us. Us? He realized what he'd said and tried to backtrack. I mean, someone's targeting successful people in the neighborhood. Melissa got some kind of video. What kind of video? Adam was sweating now, probably realizing he was confessing to the one person who shouldn't know about any of this. It's complicated. I've got time. Look, Nick, you seem like a good guy. You don't deserve to get caught up in this mess. I almost laughed. Adam was trying to protect me from finding out about his affair with my wife. The irony was beautiful. What mess, Adam? You're not making sense. That's when he snapped. Maybe it was the stress. Maybe it was losing his wife and his comfortable life. But Adam grabbed me by the shirt and slammed me against the wall. Stop playing dumb. You know what's going on. You have to know. I let him hold me there for a moment, feeling his desperation, his fear. Then I smiled. Yeah, Adam, I know. The confusion in his eyes was perfect. He loosened his grip, trying to process what I'd just said. You know? I know about the affair. I know about the group chat where you all laughed about what a pathetic husband I am. I know about the weekend getaway and the scary men who interrupted your romantic evening. Adam's face went through several colors before settling on a sickly green. That was you? That was justice. He let go of me completely, backing away like I was radioactive. You're insane. No, Adam. I'm done being a doormat. I walked to the kitchen and pulled a beer from the refrigerator, taking my time opening it while Adam stood there processing the situation. Here's what's going to happen, I said calmly. You're going to leave my house. You're going to stay away from my wife. And you're going to disappear from our lives completely. Or what? I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo. Adam tied to the bed, naked and terrified, with Julia sobbing beside him. Or everyone in town gets to see what you look like when you're not feeling so confident. Adam lunged for the phone, but I was ready for him. I stepped aside and let him crash into the kitchen island. While he was getting his bearings, I grabbed a knife from the block and held it casually at my side. I wouldn't, I said quietly. You can't do this. This is blackmail. This is illegal. Prove it. Prove I was there. Prove I took that photo. Prove anything. Adam stood there for a long moment, probably running through his options and realizing he didn't have any. Finally, he headed for the door. This isn't over, he said. Yeah, it is. After he left, I sat down at my computer and sent another anonymous email, this time to Adam's biggest client, a local tech startup that prided itself on family values. The subject line was simple. Thought you should know about your consultant's character. The message included carefully selected screenshots from the group chat, showing Adam bragging about his affair and mocking the husband he was betraying. No names were mentioned, but anyone who knew Adam would recognize his writing style. By Friday morning, word was spreading through town like wildfire. Adam's business was collapsing. His marriage was over, and his reputation was in tatters. Julia was holding up better, but I could see the cracks forming. She was jumpy, paranoid, constantly checking her phone for threatening messages that never came. The best part? I hadn't broken a single law. Everything I'd done was perfectly legal, morally questionable, maybe, but legal. No fraud, no theft, no actual violence. Just a man protecting his marriage, using the resources at his disposal. But I wasn't done yet. The neighborhood barbecue was Sandra Mitchell's idea. She hosted one every summer, inviting everyone on Maple Street and their extended social circles. Normally, I would have made an excuse to skip it. Too much small talk, too many people I barely knew. This year, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Julia didn't want to go. She'd been avoiding social situations since the weekend incident, claiming she was too busy with work. But I insisted. Come on, Jules. We haven't been out together in weeks. People will start to talk. She flinched at the word talk. Gossip was her worst nightmare now. I just don't feel like being social. It'll be good for us. Good for your business, too. Lots of potential clients will be there. that got her attention. Julia's real estate career was built on networking and referrals. Missing Sandra's barbecue would be noticed, and questions would be asked. Fine, she said finally, but we're not staying long. Saturday afternoon, we walked across the street to the Mitchells' backyard. The party was already in full swing. Maybe 40 people scattered around the pool and patio, drinks flowing, kids running around screaming. Perfect audience for what I had planned. Julia immediately gravitated toward her usual crowd: Sloan, Tara, a few other real estate agents. They welcomed her with air kisses and concerned looks, probably eager to hear about her mysterious weekend trauma. I made my way to the bar, where Dave was holding court with some of the neighborhood guys. Nick! Bob Chen from 2 houses down clapped me on the back. How's married life treating you? Oh, you know how it is, full of surprises. Dave caught my eye and raised his beer in a subtle toast. He knew what was coming. I spent the first hour working the crowd, making small talk, positioning myself for maximum impact. Julia relaxed as the afternoon wore on, probably thinking she'd escaped whatever social disaster she'd been imagining. Then Adam showed up. He looked terrible, unshaven, wearing wrinkled clothes, driving Melissa's old Honda instead of his destroyed Range Rover. Several people noticed his appearance and started whispering. This was exactly what I'd been waiting for. Adam made a beeline for Julia, probably desperate to coordinate their stories or plan their next move. But I intercepted him before he could reach her. Adam, great to see you, buddy. How's the tech consulting business? He tried to brush past me, but I put a friendly arm around his shoulders and guided him toward the center of the patio, where everyone could see us. Actually, folks, I announced loudly enough to get everyone's attention, Adam here has been giving my wife some very personal consulting services. The conversations around us died as people turned to listen. Julia's face went white when she realized what was happening. Nick, don't, she said quietly. Don't what? Don't tell our friends and neighbors how helpful you've been? How you've been going above and beyond to service my wife's needs? Adam tried to pull away, but my grip tightened on his shoulder. I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding at all. See, Adam here has been helping Julia with some very intimate real estate matters. They've been meeting privately, exchanging personal messages, even taking romantic weekend trips together. The crowd was dead silent now. Everyone staring at the three of us like we were actors in a soap opera. Julia looked like she wanted to disappear into the ground. In fact, I continued, pulling out my phone, they've been having quite a laugh about it. Want to hear some of their private conversations? I started reading from the group chat screenshots, carefully selected messages that made their affair obvious, without being too explicit for the mixed crowd. How does Nick not know? He's so clueless, I read in a mocking voice. Guy's a walking doormat. Makes this so much easier. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Sloan Peterson looked like she'd been caught shoplifting. Tara was backing away from Julia like she was contagious. That's enough, Adam said, finally finding his voice. You're right, it is enough. More than enough, actually. I turned to face Julia directly. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Did you think I was too stupid to notice my wife was screwing my friend? Julia's composure finally cracked completely. Nick, please, we can talk about this at home. Home? You mean the home you were planning to take half of in the divorce? The home you were laughing about with your boyfriend and your gossipy friends? Sandra Mitchell stepped forward, probably trying to salvage her party. Maybe you folks should take this somewhere private. No, I think this is perfect. See, Julia and Adam have been treating our marriage like a joke, sharing private details with anyone who'd listen. Turnabout's fair play. I looked around at the crowd. Neighbors, clients, social contacts who could make or break reputations in our small community. Just so everyone knows, my wife has been having an affair with Adam Green. They've been meeting at hotels, taking weekend trips, and laughing about what a fool I am behind my back. Adam's wife found out earlier this week and threw him out. Now Julia's trying to figure out how to divorce me and take half of everything I've worked for. The silence was deafening. 40 people staring at Julia and Adam like they were exhibits in a museum. Some looked shocked, others disgusted. A few seemed almost entertained by the drama. Adam made one last desperate attempt to salvage the situation. This is all lies. Nick's having some kind of breakdown. Really? I pulled up the video on my phone, the edited version I'd sent to Melissa. Faces still blurred, but the situation clear. Then explain this. I held the phone high enough for several people to see. The gasps and whispers started immediately as people recognized Julia's distinctive jewelry and Adam's expensive watch. "You recorded them?" Bob Chen asked, sounding impressed despite himself. "I didn't record anything. This was sent to me anonymously." Apparently, Julia and Adam had a very scary weekend at their romantic getaway. Julia finally found her voice. "You're sick, Nick. You're absolutely sick." "I'm sick? I'm not the one cheating on my spouse. I'm not the one laughing about betraying someone who trusted me." I turned back to the crowd, playing to my audience now. The funny thing is, they thought they were so clever. Secret messages, private meetings, weekend trips. But they got sloppy, left evidence everywhere. And when someone finally called them on it, I gestured at Adam's disheveled appearance, Julia's tear-streaked face. "Well, you can see how well they handle consequences." Adam finally snapped. "You son of a bitch." He swung at me, a wild, desperate punch that I saw coming from a mile away. I stepped aside and let him stumble past me, then grabbed his arm and twisted it behind his back. Dave appeared beside me, ready to help if needed. "Easy there, tech boy. Violence won't solve your problems. Let go of me." "Sure thing." I released his arm and gave him a hard shove that sent him stumbling toward the pool. He managed to catch his balance at the last second, but not before half the crowd saw him nearly take an unplanned swim. "I think you should leave now, Adam. Both of you, actually. This is a family neighborhood, and we don't really approve of homewreckers." The crowd parted as Julia and Adam made their way toward the exit. Nobody said goodbye. Nobody offered sympathy. They'd been judged and found wanting by their peers. As they reached the gate, I called out one final comment. "Next time you want to play house, make sure you can handle the mortgage payments." A few people actually laughed. The tension broke, and conversations slowly resumed around the patio. But I knew the damage was done. By tomorrow morning, everyone in town would know the story. Julia's real estate career would be finished. Who wants to buy a house from someone who can't even maintain her own home? Adam's consulting business was already dead, and this would bury it completely. I stayed at the party for another hour, accepting condolences and sympathy from neighbors who now saw me as the wronged husband instead of the clueless fool. Several people mentioned how they'd always suspected something was going on, how they'd seen signs but hadn't wanted to get involved. Dave found me by the pool as the party was winding down. "That was beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful." "Think it was too much? Are you kidding? They humiliated you for months. You just returned the favor in one afternoon." I looked across the street at my house, where Julia was probably packing her bags or calling a lawyer. Either way, the war was far from over. "This is just the beginning," I said. 3 weeks later, Julia was still living in our house, sleeping in the guest room and pretending we could work things out. Adam had disappeared completely. Rumor was he'd moved back in with his parents in another state. His business and marriage both destroyed. But Julia was tougher than her boyfriend. She was planning something, and I could feel it coming. The first sign was the locksmith. I came home from work Tuesday to find a stranger rekeying our front door. Julia was supervising from the porch, looking more confident than she had in weeks. "What's going on?" I asked. "Security upgrade," she said coolly. "After everything that's happened, I think we need better locks." "We? I thought you were leaving." "I've decided to stay and fight for our marriage. This is my house too, Nick." The locksmith handed her a set of keys. Just one set, I noticed. "All finished, ma'am. Those old locks were pretty basic. These new ones are much more secure." After he left, Julia turned to me with something like her old confidence returning. "I've been talking to a lawyer, Nick, about our options." "What kind of options?" "The kind where I don't lose everything because of one mistake." I almost laughed. One mistake. Like the months of planning and lying and humiliating me had been some kind of accident. "What does your lawyer say?" "He says adultery isn't grounds for divorce in this state anymore. Community property laws mean I'm entitled to half of everything, regardless of what happened with Adam." She was right, of course. No-fault divorce meant her affair was legally irrelevant. But Julia was forgetting something important. I wasn't planning to use the legal system. "He also says what you did at the barbecue could be considered harassment," she continued. "Public humiliation, invasion of privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress. I could sue you for damages." "Good luck proving I did anything wrong." "I don't have to prove it. I just have to make it expensive for you to fight." Julia pulled out a folder thick with legal documents. "I'm filing for divorce, Nick, and I'm asking for the house, half your retirement account, and spousal support." My lawyer thinks we have a strong case. I looked through the papers. She'd been thorough. I had to give her that. Temporary restraining order, asset freeze, exclusive use of the marital home. If these went through, I'd be the one living in a cheap apartment while she kept the life I'd built. You've been busy. I learned from the best. You showed me what happens when you don't fight back. That night, I called Dave. She's making her move. What kind of move? Legal warfare, trying to take the house, freeze my assets, paint me as the villain. Can she do that? If I play by the rules, yeah. But I'm done playing by the rules. Dave was quiet for a moment. What do you need? Remember that home security system you installed for the Hendersons? The one with all the bells and whistles? Motion sensors, cameras, automated response system. Yeah, why? How fast can you install something like that at my house? If I work all night? Have it done by tomorrow evening. But Nick, if you're planning what I think you're planning, I'm not planning anything violent. Just want to make sure my home is secure. Thursday evening, Julia came back from her lawyer's office, looking smug. She'd probably filed all her paperwork, gotten her temporary orders, maybe even arranged for a sheriff's deputy to serve me with eviction papers. What she didn't expect was the fortress I'd turned our house into. Dave and his crew had worked all day installing military-grade security equipment. Motion sensors covered every approach to the house. Cameras monitored every entrance. The doors and windows were reinforced with steel bars that could be activated by remote control. It looked like a normal suburban home, but it was actually a high-tech bunker. What's all this? Julia asked, noticing the new cameras. Security upgrade. After everything that's happened, I thought we needed better protection. She tried her new key in the front door, but it didn't work. I'd had Dave change the locks again while she was out. Nick, open this door right now. I don't think so, Jules. See, I've been talking to my own lawyer. Turns out there are a few things you didn't consider. I was speaking through the intercom system Dave had installed, my voice coming from speakers mounted near the door. This is still my house too, she said, pulling out her phone. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. But you might want to check your credit cards first. I watched through the security cameras as Julia tried to use her phone. Her face went white when she realized her service had been disconnected. I canceled the family plan, I announced through the speakers. Seemed like a waste of money since we're getting divorced. She ran to her BMW, probably planning to drive somewhere with cell service. But the car wouldn't start. Dave had disabled it while she was inside talking to her lawyer. Having car trouble, I asked through the exterior speakers Dave had installed around the property. That's weird. It was running fine this morning. Julia was starting to panic now, probably realizing how isolated she was. Our house sat on 2 acres at